Welcome back, everybody. We love to go deep on this show. So today we're going to take a deep dive into the Vatican.
Not the Sistine Chapel and St. Peter's Square stuff,
Right.
like the hidden stuff.
The stuff most people don't see. You actually sent over some YouTube videos about the Vatican.
Yeah.
It's got scandals and mysteries and maybe even a little conspiracy.
Yeah, it's a lot more than just a religious center, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a global power player with its own finances, its own politics.
Okay, so let's start with something specific.
Okay.
That London property deal that made headlines. £350 million. That's a lot of money.
It is, and the players involved are fascinating.
Yeah.
We've got Cardinal Angelo Becciu, he was close to the Pope.
Oh, wow.
And then Raffaele Minciono, this Italian financier, he owned the London building.
Okay.
And Gianluigi Torsi comes in to finalize the deal. It's complex.
It sounds super complex. And then the allegations themselves are pretty wild.
Yeah.
Corruption, embezzlement, money laundering.
Extortion.
Some are even saying potential mafia connections.
It's important to remember, though, that these are allegations.
Right.
The Vatican's denied wrongdoing, but the investigations are ongoing.
Right.
It definitely shows they need stronger finances,
Yeah.
stronger transparency.
Makes you wonder how it even happened in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, where did this money come from?
Right.
What oversight was there?
Yeah, it's not the first time they've had problems with their finances.
Right.
Pope Benedict tried to clean up the Vatican Bank.
Yeah.
Which has its own history.
Right, yeah.
But he faced a lot of resistance internally.
And then there's the whole mystery of his resignation. I mean, he was the first pope in centuries to resign.
Yeah.
Could it have been connected?
Well, we don't know for sure.
Right.
There's potential links between the resignation and his efforts to reform that bank.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It really does paint a picture of an institution that's struggling to be modern.
Yeah.
They're trying to reconcile their spiritual mission with global finance and power.
It's not an isolated incident.
Right.
We see this theme of financial accountability in the Vatican's history.
Okay, let's look back further to World War II.
Okay.
Because we see similar patterns of secrecy.
Pope Pius XII led during the war.
Okay.
Very controversial.
Yeah.
Some even call him Hitler's pope.
It's a really complex historical debate.
Oh, yeah.
People say he should have used his position to condemn the Nazis.
Right.
Maybe save more lives. But his defenders say that he actually worked behind the scenes to protect Jews and others.
Right. And that speaking out publicly might have made things worse.
Yeah. It's the difficult question. What should a religious leader do during such suffering?
Yeah.
Do they speak truth to power?
Mm-hmm.
Or work quietly?
Right.
And then there's Bishop Elois Hudel. He supposedly helped Nazis escape after the war.
Yeah, to South America.
Right.
Some sources even say that he used Vatican resources for this.
Wow. So it makes you wonder in what the Vatican was doing during and after the war.
Right.
Were they protecting people who had done horrible things?
Yeah.
If so, why?
Yeah, it's a dark period.
It really is. Secrecy and agendas everywhere. And then there's Roberto Cavi, God's banker, they called him.
Mm-hmm.
Mysterious death.
Found hanging under Blackfriars Bridge.
It sounds like a spy novel or something.
It does. His bank, Banco Ambrosiano, collapsed amidst money laundering accusations and
Wow.
ties to organized crime.
And some people think that he was going to expose the Vatican before he died.
Potentially, yeah.
So are we talking about real struggle for transparency, or is there something darker going on?
We can't jump to conclusions,
Right.
but his death and everything around it raises valid questions about corruption and cover-ups in the Vatican.
So from those property deals to wartime allegiances and now a dead banker, we're seeing a pattern.
Yeah.
Financial intrigue, potential wrongdoing. It's very different from the image that they present
Right.
of piety and holiness. Do you think these darker sides hurt their moral authority?
Well, that's the question, right?
Yeah.
Do these controversies weaken them, or do they just show that they're human?
Right.
Like any powerful institution, they can make mistakes.
It's a really complex issue. Okay, before we go too far down that road, you sent over some interesting stuff about the Vatican's involvement in astronomy.
Yeah.
Which seems kind of a weird combo.
It does.
But they have a state-of-the-art observatory.
They do.
It's in Arizona, and they call it Lucifer.
Yeah, it's been there for a while.
Really?
Their interest in astronomy goes way back.
Huh. The nickname is interesting. Some conspiracy theorists even think they're looking for aliens.
Well, the nickname does make it a little mysterious.
Right.
But Father Jean-Baptiste Kikwaya, he's a Vatican astronomer. He says it's just for science.
Okay.
But the Vatican has hosted these conferences about extraterrestrial life, so that adds fuel to the fire.
It really does. So are they just, curious, or is there more to it?
Yeah. What would happen if they actually found aliens?
Right.
Would it change Catholic teaching?
That's a great question.
It is. They seem to be open to the idea of life beyond Earth.
Right.
But how would it fit into their belief system?
Yeah, that is fascinating. It's cool that they're involved in science,
Yeah,
even if it might challenge what they believe.
yeah.
But there's another area where people say they're holding back information,
Okay.
hidden relics,
Mm-hmm.
forbidden texts.
Those Vatican archives are fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
It's so much history there.
Yeah.
So many
I
documents.
mean, just think about the debate over St. Peter's bones.
Right. They say they have them,
Right.
but some people question it.
If they were real, though,
Yeah.
imagine that.
It would be huge for the church.
Yeah.
That direct link to the first pope. But some scholars say the evidence isn't that strong.
Right.
So it makes you wonder,
Yeah.
what are their motivations?
Are they just preserving history?
Yeah.
Or is it more about, showing their power
Right.
through these objects?
Exactly.
And it's not just the bones. There's that jar of manna.
Oh, yeah, the bread from heaven?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Joan of Arc's statue. Each relic adds to their story.
It does.
But they also make you think, are
Yeah.
these things real?
Right.
What do they really mean?
It's important to look at the history around them.
Absolutely.
You can't just believe everything you hear.
Right. And then you've got those forbidden texts.
Right. The ones left out of the Bible.
Yeah, why? What are their stories?
Yeah.
They're just too controversial?
Well, some of them give different views of Christian history and theology,
Okay.
like the Beta's Apocalypse.
What's that?
It's an illustrated manuscript
Okay.
about the end of the world.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty different from the Book of Revelation.
Interesting.
Yeah, different perspective.
Okay.
And then there's the Gospel of Mary Magdalene.
Right.
It makes Mary Magdalene a much bigger character.
Really.
Mm.
That's been debated for centuries. Yeah, it challenges a lot of the traditional views.
Yeah, they called these texts heretical,
Heretical.
meaning they went against the church's teachings.
So maybe they challenged the power structure.
Right.
Or had different views on Jesus.
Exactly.
Maybe they focused on people who the church wanted to downplay.
It's possible. So by leaving these texts out,
Yeah.
they created a specific version of history.
And they silenced other voices.
Right.
It makes you think about how much we don't know.
Yeah, what's been hidden over time.
Right. Did they see themselves as protectors of the faith?
Maybe?
Or were they just trying to hold on to their power?
It's hard to say for sure.
It really is. It shows that history is written by the winners,
Often, yeah,
and the Vatican's been a big part of Western civilization.
for sure.
But there's so much underneath that official story.
Mm-hmm.
So many alternative views and hidden stories.
And we may never know the full truth
Yeah.
about what's in those archives.
But even the little we do know is pretty amazing.
It is.
It makes you question everything.
It really does. So from financial scandals
Right.
to wartime controversies,
Yeah.
from astronomy.
To relics and forbidden texts. The Vatican's full of contradictions.
Yeah,
A mix of power and faith,
yeah.
secrecy and truth.
It's a fascinating institution.
It really is. And so flawed.
Yeah, they've done great things.
Right.
But they've also made mistakes.
Trying to balance their past
Mm-hmm.
with the
Mhm.
modern world.
Yeah.
And they still keep secrets.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder about their influence.
Right.
And what else is hidden away. So as we finish up this deep dive into the Vatican,
Yeah.
what's your final thought for our listener? All these hidden stories and controversies, they really make you think about the Vatican's legacy. Is it mostly about spiritual guidance?
I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
It's not a simple answer. There's
Right.
the Smith aspect, but also the art,
Right.
the politics, and yeah, the scandals too.
We've uncovered like multiple Vaticans almost.
Yeah, kind of.
There's the traditional one.
The one everyone knows.
Yeah, the one with all the power and influence.
Right.
And then there's this secret one.
The one behind the curtain.
Yeah, the one that's struggling with power and accountability. They both exist at the same time.
They do. And that leads to a good question.
Yeah.
Do all these secrets and these controversies actually hurt the Vatican? Or do they make them stronger?
That's a really good question. I mean, on the one hand, you could say the scandals hurt them.
Of course.
People see corruption,
Hmm.
cover-ups. It makes them question the church.
Especially when it's about money
Right.
or protecting bad people.
Exactly. But maybe admitting to these things is a sign of strength.
Maybe.
Like they're willing to face their past.
And be more open.
It's a tough balance, though.
It is.
They need to be more transparent.
Yeah,
But some things should stay private,
right.
especially personal stuff.
And we have to remember, they're not just a church,
Right.
but they're their own country.
Right, with their own laws and politics.
Yeah, it's not easy.
So they have to balance all that
Right.
international stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And their decisions don't just affect Catholics.
No, the whole...
Their influence is huge.
It really is. So we need to look past the headlines,
Right.
past the crazy stories,
Think about history.
their beliefs.
Yeah, how power and faith work together.
How people make mistakes.
That's so important. We've been talking about all these scandals.
Yeah.
Well, what about the everyday people in the Vatican?
The priests, the nuns,
Yeah.
the people who work there every day.
What are their lives like?
we don't hear those stories.
It would give us a better idea.
It would humanize them.
Yeah. So, as we wrap up our deep dive, I think we can say the Vatican's really complicated.
Yeah.
Long history.
Great power.
But still human.
I encourage our listeners to keep learning about the Vatican.
Yeah, don't just believe everything you hear.
Be critical.
Think about their history, their beliefs.
People who work there.
It's a journey of discovery. It might challenge what you think.
It might.
Make you ask questions.
And you might just learn something new.
And who knows what other secrets are still waiting out there.
Exactly.
Thanks for listening, everybody.